We're a few days away from the Dolphins season finale at New England, and this franchise still has major questions to answer. Actually, it's the same questions they've had for weeks, right? Who's going to be GM next season? Who's going to be head coach next season? Who's going to be the starting quarterback next season? At least now we're 1 week closer to an answer on all those questions. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this week's edition of Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk. I am Chris Perkins, your Miami Dolphins columnist for the South Florida Sun Sentinel and your host of the show. That is David Furones. He is your South Florida Sun Sentinel Dolphins writer. Furones, let me go off schedule here for a second. I know nobody follows closer than you, except maybe Adam Lichtenstein, our Dolphins writer. But
I think there's plenty of people, but
right. You're a former Cane. I'm building you up, Furones. The Dolphins play the Canes play Ohio State tomorrow night. I'm thinking this could be a defensive battle, Furones. Ohio State is number 1 in the nation in scoring defense, 8.2 points per game. UM is number 4 at 13 points per game. It's been a very defensive year in college football. 7 of the top 10 in scoring defense made the playoffs. We're going to talk, and the national media is going to talk about the quarterbacks in Ohio State, Miami. Julian Sayin for Ohio State, Carson Beck for Miami. Is there a chance this is a low-scoring defensive game where Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor and guys like that are actually the stars of the show?
You know what? Great first topic, Perk. But wait. There's a flag on the play. There's a flag on the show on your first topic. A late call. A late. Miami, Ohio State. Of course, you think back to the 2002 national championship game. Technically 03 Fiesta Bowl, Fiasco Bowl, as a lot of Miami Hurricanes call it down here. So you love it for the storyline. I think you're right. Defense, of course. With these two defenses, we've seen Ohio State scoring defense. Miami, of course, just went into Texas A&M and won a 10-3 grinded out game, just surviving, maybe playing some bend but don't break, and then coming through with some takeaways once Texas A&M got in closer. Of course, the final stop down near the goal line, the freshman Bryce Fitzgerald making a play. It's going to be tough to stop Jeremiah Smith, of course, the ultra-talented receiver out of South Florida and Chaminade Madonna High School, who's in his second year as a sophomore in college and going to be one of the top prospects in what would be the 2027 draft. So I love the Canes in the trenches. This is why I think they have a chance against anyone. I mean, we had them right up there with Ohio State. They were number 2, Ohio State number 1, UM number 2 before Miami lost a couple of games they shouldn't have even been close in against Louisville and SMU. So I think they've started playing better again recently. Obviously, Carson Beck can be a little shaky, but at least he didn't make any costly mistakes in that A&M game in a tough environment. So that's one thing, his experience. If he doesn't make mistakes and then just makes a few plays when they present themselves, considering that the defense will keep it close, then UM really has a shot, especially considering that Ohio State really didn't have that challenging of a schedule throughout the regular season. And then the best team that they played, they did lose a low-scoring affair against Indiana.
Yep. So we will keep a close eye on that game, but it is Dolphins time, really. We want to welcome all of our viewers on YouTube. We want to remind you to leave a comment, thought, question on our live chat, the best place to get intelligent Dolphins conversation. Some of those will be answered on the air today. Others will be answered later on this afternoon in a live Q&A that is online, that is published online. Also, we want to tell you that you can sign up for our weekly newsletter, The Fans Flash, by scanning the QR code that will be shown on your screen. And we want to tell you that if you miss any part of this live show, you can watch the podcast on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Now, we're going to talk some quarterback on the show today. We're going to talk about whether Quinn Ewers has done enough to save Mike McDaniel's job. Quinn has done very well in his first 2 starts so far this year. He hasn't set the world on fire, but he's improved and he's shown calm and poise in the pocket. So we'll ask if that's enough to save Mike McDaniel's job. Also, on this edition of Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk, we are going to ask the question of whether this team has undergone a culture change. To me, and I asked Mike McDaniel this yesterday, This team is more Jordan Brooks and Aaron Brewer grinded out rather than Tyreek Hill and Jalen Ramsey, high profile, look at me, look at me. Our Furones bonus, the Furones bonus is back, baby. We're going to be talking team MVP. And then, as usual, we will have our usual predictions, Dolphins and Patriots on Sunday. As we always say around here, there's an ocean of possibilities. Let's dive in. There we go, baby. All right, so let's talk some Quinn Ewers and Mike McDaniel here, because Quinn Ewers has shown us some really good things in his first 2 starts. He hasn't set the world on fire, but he has been very calm, very collected in the pocket. When we talk about whether Quinn has done enough to save Mike McDaniel's job, however, we have to ask whether Steve Ross is going to retain Mike McDaniel and whether he will retain interim general manager Champ Kelly, because, what happens at the top could impact how Quinn Ewers is viewed going into training camp. So, my feelings. I think that there should be a clean sweep. Chris Greer, the ex-general manager, is already gone. I think you just make it a clean sweep, and this is not personal toward Mike McDaniel or Champ Kelly. This is business. And I think operating the successful business necessitates bringing in the GM who can select his own coach and the coach who can select his own quarterback. So, Furones, what's your gut feeling right now about what Steve Ross does with those first 2 spots?
Well, I would like the approach of don't commit one way or the other immediately after the game at, what would that be, 7:45 p.m.
Yep.
Eastern time on Sunday after a 4:25 kickoff finishes. So at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, go ahead one way or the other. Just don't immediately commit, because Sunday Night Football happens. The loser of that Ravens-Steelers game could be available. Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh. Now, I don't think it would be a home run for either one of them. I don't think either one of them would look at the Dolphins situation and say, ooh, I really want to go there. The Dolphins don't have a very desirable situation, considering that they're about to move on from their formerly franchise quarterback who they gave a huge contract extension to, and now you got to separate yourselves, part ways from him. You got to pay him a $99 million dead cap hit if you're going to take it all in 2026 or spread it out over 2 seasons, making it 67 for the next year. I don't see one of those top candidates, if they become available, just jumping at that situation if it all played out that way. And maybe even both become available, because whoever the winner is and wins the AFC North, maybe that coach loses in the first round of the playoffs at home, and then those organizations, they have a higher standard than that. They didn't have a playoff win, especially at home winning a division, and they expect more. Especially you look at Mike Tomlin. He hasn't had a playoff win since, was it 2016? Wasn't it that game against the Dolphins?
Yep.
Yeah, incredible. And that was, 3 coaches ago for the Dolphins too. So, but I mean, Mike Tomlin, I have all the respect in the world for him. I mean, he has a winning season every year. As far as the GM search, I think they should go through an interview process. I like Champ Kelly from really just what I've seen from him in a few months, just the interactions he has with players, with Coach Mike McDaniel, the way he presents himself. A conversation that I was in on in Madrid, where he spoke to a few local beat reporters from South Florida who traveled to Spain. And I'll tell you, he's very impressive. Anyone who sits down with him for an interview, they're going to be impressed. And I think that's part of how he has risen to this level, where now he's an interim GM second time around, and deserves strong consideration for the job. And but I also want to go through other candidates. If it's like Eagles assistant GM Alec Hallaby is one who I've heard a lot of good things about, and would have near the top of my list. I'm sure there's so many others across the league. But again, for that GM role, I think you would only get someone who's trying to rise into the GM ranks for the first time, not someone who has already established themselves as one of those top franchise decision makers in the league, because who is taking on this role when you're jumping into a scenario where you have the dead cap hit that's coming for Tua Tagovailoa. For Mike McDaniel, I think it does help him that he made a quarterback change and that the team still played well. So Quinn Ewers comes in. He's been fine. He runs the offense well. Even that first game, he ran it fine. You don't really pin the 45-21 loss on him. And then obviously he came through and was good enough to win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a team who might be a playoff team, might win a division. I know the record doesn't really indicate such, but and neither did their play on Sunday. But still, that is a team competing for a playoff spot. They actually have the same record now, don't they? As it all 7-9.
They do. Yeah.
And it also helps Mike McDaniel that the team stuck together through the hardships of the early part of the season, the firing of Chris Greer at the midway point of the season. I was always with you. Like it should be a clean sweep. If Greer goes down, the two go down together. I felt like they were tied at the hip. The organization clearly made the decision of one and not the other. I think Stephen Ross likes and believes in Mike McDaniel, so that's how we judge it from here on. So I would say don't commit one way or the other right after the game. See what happens. See maybe what you can hear through the grapevine. I know Ross kind of got in trouble when he did the same thing with Tony Sperano. And Jim Harbaugh was available and went to the 49ers. Coming out of Stanford way back when. History repeating itself. I don't know, but I do like just seeing what you can get because maybe the grass isn't always greener. Mike McDaniel has shown some positive signs, but if you could have a better situation, then I would go down that route if you are seriously able to pursue it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Mike has shown us he's kind of in his bag right now. I think the offense is a lot more diverse and a lot more creative than it was when they had Tua to Tyreek. I really do, but I thought that about the dink and dunk offense last year also, that it was more creative and it did a better job attacking the too high safety scheme that teams were using to stifle them. When we get back to Quinn Ewers, I really like what I've seen with him. And we mentioned the poise and the calm in the pocket, the strong arm, the good decision-making, kind of the calm. You know, Quinn Ewers told us last week that before the game, he was telling the team, you know, we're not playing for a Super Bowl, so go back to your why. Why are you playing this game? And I thought, wow. For a rookie to be telling dudes like Jordan Brooks and Aaron Brewer and Zach Sealer to go back to your why, that's a guy who is comfortable in that leadership role. And Quinn said it, that kind of comes with the shoes of quarterback, that you've got to be a leader. You've got to be comfortable. So when you look at some of the intangibles, Furones, again, the poise in the pocket and the decision-making and just being a quarterback, he checks a lot of the boxes, doesn't he?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, that's very impressive. When I heard him communicate that in the press conference setting, and that's just a press conference, that he's going up to leaders on the team as a rookie in the NFL, and with such a pointed message, then that's impressive. You like to see that. You like to see the way he just operates the offense. He had a similar offense at Texas under Steve Sarkisian, so. I think that was a huge plus, a huge bonus to him. I mean, I think back to all those viral images that came out of Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer back at that Texas Pro Day when it was Xavier Worthy's year coming out of the draft, and they were oohing and eyeing over his 40 time back then. Quinn Ewers still had another year left, and there were definitely some interactions, maybe some of those early seeds planted in what would ultimately work. So I see Quinn Ewers as someone who can at least put himself in the conversation to be in a starting competition going into next year. So I would like that for him. I think the Dolphins, as they move on from Tua, as seems to be the lean and seems to be where this is going. If you just bring in maybe like a mid-tier veteran quarterback, like a fringe level starter, those two can compete. Or if it's another rookie, I don't know how high this rookie quarterback would be drafted, because I also don't see Zach Wilson coming back after he was leapfrogged by Quinn Ewers for this starting role. Although now, we do see why. So I do like what Quinn Ewers could have in the future, especially then if you would have a full offseason to go from the very start in this system. But yeah, he would benefit even more if Mike McDaniel returned, because that offense, I think, really suits him well, given that Texas ran a lot of the same plays and scheme.
Yep. Before we go on, let's say what's up to Roger Ullman. He's already talking quarterback. We'll get to that. What's up to Dead Street? Peter McDowell from Snowy Toronto, Broward Dolphins, Jordan Murray, Bigote 1775, CLD 170, Comrade 3611. JD the Great One is in here. Louis M, Ray Diaz, Spooky 21, Pretty Boy. What's up, Pretty Boy? 0170, Kobe Faust. Let's see. Did I say Jordan Murray? What's up, Jordan Murray? Happy Evelyn. Who else do we have in here? Vasily Thurvis. Is that right? I think that's right. What's going on? Let me say this, Furones, to back up a little bit. I like what you said about Champ Kelly and him dapping up everybody. And, when you're talking about whether Champ should stay, I've pointed this out a few times, how Minka talked about how Champ, you see him all over the facility, in the weight room and everything like that. Bradley Chubb told us how Champ kept in touch with him personally on trade deadline day. We see Champ before games dapping up the security people, dapping up players' families, dapping up players, coaches from the Dolphins, coaches from the other team, players from the other team. He's sociable. He's well-liked. He gets around. He's got an energy about him that I think is good for this franchise. And I think that he's worked well with Mike McDaniel. Again, this is not personal with me. I don't know Champ. I've said what's up to him a couple of times, but I like him. I like the vibe that he gives off. I like Mike McDaniel, but this is about getting a winning program together. And so let's go back to the quarterback position here. I agree with your assessment of Quinn from the standpoint that he should have earned the right to compete for the starting job in training camp. But right off the rip here on our live chat, Roger Ullman is talking about, should we get a quarterback in next year's draft? Lenoris Sellers and Dante Moore and Fernando Mendoza and Garrett Nussmeier. He says he likes Dante Moore. I like the duck, Roger Ullman says. I don't think the Dolphins need to get a first-round quarterback, because the guy that's probably going to be there is not Mendoza, is not Dante Moore, it's probably Ty Simpson of Alabama, right? I'm not that sold on him, especially if, the Dolphins are picking, 10, 11, 12, 8, whatever they pick. I would rather continue to build in the trenches, maybe get a veteran, and I'll just throw out a name, Kirk Cousins. I don't know what his contract situation is right now, the salary. That salary is outrageous. But a veteran along those lines, and then maybe draft a quarterback in the third round and have the three of them in camp. What would you think of a plan like that? Now, Kirk can still start. I don't necessarily think Andy Dalton or Tyrod Taylor, but Kirk is a master of taking a 6-win team to 10 wins. He can't take a 10-win team to the championship game, but he can get you from 6 to 10. Would you like a Kirk Cousins, a third-round pick, and Quinn Ewers at camp?
Hey, how about a swap of Dolphins-Falcons, Kirk Cousins for Tua Tagovailoa, some hefty contracts there for what will no longer be starters for those franchises after the Falcons drafted Michael Penix. And beyond that, the Falcons can now be consistent with left-handed quarterbacks. Michael Penix starter, Tua Tagovailoa backup with a lot of experience. That might be a home run right there that you just gave us there. And then the Dolphins can get right-handed quarterbacks. No one has to worry about the blindside protection changing, the spin of the ball for receivers and pass catchers. Hey, it might work out tremendously.
There we go, baby. There we go.
So maybe let's bring on Kirk Cousins and let's have him compete with Quinn Ewers next year. Now, unless you are really high on. You're probably the first two. If you're talking about Moore and Mendoza, I would imagine they're gone. by the time the Dolphins are picking, which right now is hovering around around 10 to 12. I think it just went up to 11 after the Falcons won on Monday Night Football. So, there's a range there where it ultimately fall, depending on Week 18 results. So if you fall in love with one of the guys that are that next tier, then I could see it. I wouldn't be mad at it. But let's just also keep in mind that this team, while it is trying to now infuse more youth from the past couple of drafts, a lot of the players that would be in their prime right now would have come in that 2023 draft and 2022 draft, which the organization largely punted on. Outside of you hit a home run with Devon Achane, you got him, and he's in his prime, and he's your Pro Bowler now. But aside from that, you didn't gain much young talent from those years because of the all-in approach from the high-priced free agents that now is coming back to bite you, where you have to go economical again and build through the draft. So, there's still a lot of holes to fill. You want competition for a lot of those spots because it's not like you just nailed every pick the last couple years. Some of those guys will surface. Some of those guys will maybe bottom out. It's just the way it goes in the NFL. And then you find out what you have, and you just continue to stack young talent together so that you can ultimately see how many roster spots, how many positions you are solid at going toward the future before your next time where you're really just going for that spending in free agency to fill holes, win now scenario, which could be a few years down the road.
How about this from Ray Diaz? I say reserve judgment on Ewers until after the Patriots game. If he can go on the road and beat a Patriots team that is going to the playoffs, possibly the number 1 seed, I say that's good. I say that's good. I agree. But I think that's more of a judgment of Mike McDaniel than this team than Quinn Ewers. It's going to be cold up there. Now, I don't believe that whole cold weather narrative, but it is going to be cold. We talk about.
You don't believe it? It's the first thing you said. It's the first thing you said. But you don't believe it. Okay.
I don't believe. I know. I've got to fight Furones and Joe Shad of the Palm Beach Post on this in the press room all the time, and on our group chat.
You already had your out, because then you're going to say, "Well, the Patriots are a good team, so that's why that's why they lost."
You know me so well, Furones. You know my arguments.
You already have it built in. Yeah. Yes, the Patriots are a good team. All right.
They can't beat good teams. It's not the cold weather. It's the good teams they can't beat. But I digress. I do think that's more of a judgment on Mike McDaniel and being able to get his team over the hump late season. For Quinn, I just want to see him play well, keep showing the composure and all that kind of stuff. But let me throw this at you, Furones, just as Ray says, reserve judgment. Do you think our opinion of Quinn Ewers would be different if he was a first or second round pick rather than a 7th round pick? Because now he's got kind of that underdog thing, right? That you didn't really expect much of the 3rd string 7th round pick. He's 1-1. The first game for the team didn't go that well. Second game did. If he's a 1st or 2nd round pick, are you looking at him going, man, he didn't do that well in that first game? What do you think that affects our judgment of Quinn Ewers?
I mean, possibly, but I don't think you ever overanalyze just a first few starts. I mean, even if Quinn Ewers goes into New England and it's a disaster in his first road game, and he looks frozen out there, literally and figuratively, against a tough defense and Mike Vrabel. then I mean, I don't think you make some grandiose judgment over that tough situation in his first road start in the NFL. Obviously, you don't want it to look like Skylar Thompson that Week 3 game at Seattle last year went, but. I don't see that Quinn Ewers would look that way in this game. So, I'm ultimately optimistic about it. But unless it's just like an outright disaster, then I'm not going to overly criticize Quinn Ewers in his first road start, where he's got a lot of other young players around him. This past game, he had Andrew Meyer as his center playing for the first time in an NFL regular season game. Maybe Aaron Brewer is back for next week.
Yep.
He's throwing to Theo Weiss. Like, he doesn't have Tyreek Hill in this offense. He doesn't have Jalen Waddle exited with a rib injury, and he only played 14 snaps. So he's got Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is a healthy scratch. So he's down to Malik Washington and Cedric Wilson and throwing a Theo Weiss and Greg Dulcich as his tight end. Like, these are his weapons around. Granted, yes, he has Devon Achane back there, who is the ultimate game changer at running back, who you can always just toss the ball to, catching it out of the backfield. But it's a tough situation for any quarterback. And wait, Perk, if the cold has nothing to do with it, then are the Steelers really that much better than a Dolphins team that was on a 4-game win streak to be up 28-3 on them in that fourth quarter? Are they 28-3 better than the Dolphins with cold not a factor at all?
Things happen, Furones. This Dolphins team blew a 17-0 lead to Carolina. It got pasted by Dylan Gabriel in Cleveland, and Baltimore came in here and kicked their butts. Baltimore is not that good. None of those were in cold weather, right? Carolina, Cleveland, or Baltimore. Things happen. Things happen in an NFL season.
And Baltimore didn't kick the Dolphins' butt the way the score indicated.
Correct.
The Dolphins were moving on them, and then they would just shoot themselves in the foot when they got down there, and a costly mistake would just turn the score. So the score wasn't really indicative. Like, first half, the Dolphins were really they actually were the better team, really. I would say in that game.
Yeah. Lamar had 4 touchdowns and no interceptions, but you're right. Your assessment is correct. Let's put a bow on this with this. I am going to answer some of these questions online in a Q&A later today. Among the questions I'm going to answer is from Pretty Boy. And you can comment on this if you want, Furones. Pretty Boy says, QB options, let Ewers start next year, sign Malik Willis for about $15 million a year, draft a rookie and let him and Ewers battle it out. Start Ewers and wait until 27 to draft a quarterback. I will tell you, our colleague Dave Hyde is very high on Malik Willis. I'm not so sure on Malik. This is his 4th year, right? Fourth year, I believe. 2 years with Tennessee and 2 with Green Bay. Is that correct? Malik, he came into the league kind of as this dynamic prospect out of Liberty, the dual threat. He hasn't really lived up to it. The Malik Willis from Tennessee is not the Malik Willis we see now. I'd rather probably bring a Kirk Cousins or somebody more experienced in, but I'm going to answer this online, so I'm not going to give my thoughts. Do you have any thoughts on Malik Willis just overall? Is he a viable candidate for the Dolphins, a possibility?
I'm intrigued by it, at least. It's LaFleur out there in Green Bay, so obviously a connection with Mike McDaniel. And then you always do wonder mobility in Mike McDaniel's offense.
Yep.
How could that look? Like a mobile quarterback who can also sling it a little bit. And, hey, Quinn Ewers has shown some flashes of mobility. Hey, big third down. He goes and gets it, dives forward in a safe manner. Good on him. Obviously, Malik Willis is another level of it, but I'd be intrigued by it. At least I don't think you're getting him for $15 million, considering that.
No,
I think other teams are going to be high on him as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's been pointed out in our chat. Somebody said 25 to 30 might be the going rate. And I think that's probably about right. All right, Furones, let's migrate on to segment 2. Have the Dolphins finally undergone a culture change? This is going to be my column for Wednesday. I think they have, and I will congratulate Mike McDaniel on this. I referenced this earlier that they are more Jordan Brooks and Aaron Brewer, blue collar, workmanlike, grind it out, up from the mud, rather than the big play, speed, finesse offense, the touchdown sellies, the social media celebrations, all that kind of stuff. This is a different team. It's got different character to it, and I will congratulate Chris Greer on this also. But I give Mike McDaniel a lot of credit for this. It's a run-first team. Do you agree with that? Do you acknowledge that? Do you give Mike McDaniel credit for that? And is that a factor in Mike McDaniel returning next year?
Well, yeah, it sounds like you're a big Mike McDaniel or a big fan of Mike McDaniel returning. If this is
I'm just trying to be fair. I've still got my broom out. I'm just trying to be fair and honest about the situation.
Yeah, no, but I mean, you're right about that. and you've been at the forefront of this topic since back when they had the number one offense in 2023. And you're saying it's a BS offense, it's a BS stat because they just pile it on against these bad defenses and they can't do anything against the good teams. I've heard it for so many years. And you were right on. And, it's not like I ever disagreed with it. I knew they weren't truly like the greatest offense in the NFL. When you also consider that they weren't coming through in 2023 against when they played, the Bills, the Eagles, the Chiefs, down to the end, the Bills, the next time the Ravens at the end of the season. So all those losses against strong opponents, plus the Titans, which is a Mike Vrabel led team that had was playing spoiler late in that season. In that Monday night collapse that the Dolphins had. So it still needed a makeover, even though it looked like it was so beautiful, like this beautiful offense that just cannot be stopped. So it's good that you have these physical elements and a mindset that the Aaron Brewers bring, that the Jordan Brooks bring. By the way, both of those Pro Bowl snubs. Aaron Brewer, what he has meant to this offense. Probably in season when voting like this occurs, it's really hard for a lot of coaches and evaluators and scouts around the league to really have the great idea of what he meant to this offense. But that stretch of 5 wins in 6 games and 4 in a row, this offense humming, it was a lot because of what he could do, how athletic he is at the center position, getting out there in the wide zone, and what he means to this offense is really invaluable. Jordan Brooks, same way for the defense, leading the league in tackles. Yeah. I mean, he's had all these. We saw him shaking a leg in that Steelers game toward the end. He's fighting through that. He plays through it. The Bengals game, and then now he's got a hamstring issue, and they're taking it day by day to see if he can play in this finale that has no playoff implications for the Dolphins. And he's got the league lead in tackles on the line. I don't think he's doing it for any selfish reasons, but he wants to be out there for his team. So, this guy should have absolutely been in the Pro Bowl. I understand Azeez Al-Shaair with the Texans, FAU guy, has had a tremendous season and is leading a great Houston defense.
Yes.
So I think the team element probably went a lot into that. Roquan Smith with the Ravens, he's always going to be in that top tier conversation. So, but yeah, you're right about the mentality that those types of players bring.
Yeah, and I kind of like the meritocracy that you're seeing with the Dolphins now, where you've got 7th round picks, Quinn Ewers and Zeke Biggers, who have kind of chopped wood all season, right? And now they're getting their opportunity. This is not there's not a Hall of Famer on this team, is there? The Jalen Ramsey is gone, Tyreek is gone, Calais Campbell is gone. It's truly just kind of this almost low-profile blue-collar team. Tua's not there anymore. Well, I shouldn't say that. He's not starting. He's not a factor in these last couple of games.
Let's see what Devon Achane becomes. Let's see.
Yes. Achane.
He's still got a long way to go, but
he does. That's a possibility. But I just like what Mike has finally built with this team, kind of this grinded-out, workman-like team. And look, it's a no-nonsense mentality, right? And you can say, since they took out the Papa shot and the card table in the locker room, I don't know that that's a factor. But, if you talk to players and coaches, they'll tell you sometime around that Cleveland game is when the switch kind of flipped. And we've heard Anthony Weaver mention that. I think Mike McDaniel has mentioned that, but we've definitely heard Weaver mention it in relationship to Kenneth Grant. And after the Cleveland game came that Atlanta game, right? The 34-10 butt kicking, and then you win 5 out of 6. And there has been an attitude shift, kind of a turning of the corner. Would that mentality survive through next season, do you think? Because here's my thing with Mike also. He was smart to go to that dink and dunk offense last year. They finished 6-3. They could finish 6-4 this year or 7-3, right? But last year they came back into this camp with the Tua to Tyreek offense, even though Tyreek was gone for most of the year with the wrist surgery and then the abdominal injury, most of training camp, I should say. I hope that if Mike McDaniel comes back next season, that his offense would incorporate parts of this run game, last year's dink and dunk, and then the previous big play passing game, because you will still have Jalen Waddle. If Mike tells me that's the offense that he intends to run, I've still got my broom out, Furones, but I'm more inclined to say, okay, give Mike another chance. What about you? Do you think this attitude, this offense are here to stay, or does he go back to the big play pass game if he returns?
No, I think you have to have this as your core of the offense, which also just opens it up. I mean, we never, going into the season, never expected, hey, all right, Tyreek Hill might be back next year. Everyone kind of figured, all right, this is Tyreek Hill's last year with the Dolphins. This is where the out is, especially with how many cap commitments the Dolphins have. And then now you're going to probably be taking on the dead cap hit of Tua. I don't even know where his rehab stands. I mean, that's a whole nother thing is the way he his knee was obliterated on that play. But it was a scary sight. I think you want that to be your foundation. Mike McDaniel's at his core is a run game guru, the run game coordinator with the San Francisco 49ers, where you see what they do, the creativity and all the a lot of us call it eye candy, but they want to see this is really a foundational piece of how they move things around. I think it's got to be at the forefront going forward, and it's another thing that works in McDaniel's favor. If it's in Stephen Ross's mind at the end of the season.
Let's see. Sal Biasi says, what's the benefit of having Tua released and taking the hit against letting Tua and Quinn compete one more year? When we talk about Mike McDaniel returning, I think that either Tua or Tyreek sets this offense back. I think that, in a strange sense, I think that the Tua to Tyreek stifled Mike McDaniel's creativity. I think that that's all he saw. He didn't really see the possibilities with Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane as running backs back in 2023, that he was so fixated on the big play. He couldn't see the forest for the trees, in other words. You could have had this run game in 2023 when you had Connor Williams and Rob Hunt and Teron Armstead and Austin Jackson and Liam Eichenberg. I know Liam was a starter. Let's not go down that road. But you had a good offensive line. And one of the things, Furones, that I really like about this offensive line and this system is you really see the athleticism come through in this outside zone run scheme. You see Aaron Brewer out there leading on blocks, right? You see Austin Jackson running. You see Cole Strange out there running. These guys did too much pass blocking when you have the Tua to Tyreek connection. Now you see why they wanted athletic, agile offensive linemen. They put it to use in this run game. And this is a run game that sets up victories. It moves the chains. It gets you touchdowns. The previous run game, to me, did two things. It was a big play run game where you saw Achane and Raheem ripping off 20, 30, 40, 50-yard runs. That's the first thing that it did. It gave you that big play possibility. The second thing, which wasn't a good thing, it kept the ball out of Tyreek's hands, which is what some other teams wanted. Buffalo wanted that, and Baltimore wanted that. Just keep the ball away from Tyreek. It did not win games. Achane and I guess Jalen Wright and Ollie Gordon, they're winning you games now. Achane rushed for 83 yards last week, but you're moving the chains. They averaged, I want to say, 4.8 yards per carry last week. They had 30 carries once again. So I like what they're doing with this run game. I like what they're doing with this offensive line. Do you like what Mike McDaniel is doing offensive line-wise right now?
Yeah, no, and I'll take it a step further. When you talk about Tyreek Hill in that offense, it's you need your wide receivers to be run blocking down the field. Like that was such a focal point, like what Kyle Shanahan, what the 49ers were doing on Sunday Night Football in that game against the Bears. A tremendous game, by the way, for all those watching after coming home from Dolphins Bucks. So that's not what Tyreek Hill does. So oftentimes we were saying, all right, you got to take Tyreek Hill out of the game to incorporate your run game, and then you put him back in the lineup, and you're just telling the opposing defense whether it's run or pass before the play occurs. Mike McDaniel, as a first-year coach who is in his first few months inheriting Tyreek Hill off a trade, now he's got to incorporate and implement what he wants to do. He's got to tell Tyreek Hill, Mike McDaniel as a first-year coach, to go out there and run block, something that that's not really his forte. So you can see how it just wasn't a perfect mesh, even if there were a lot of numbers. That's a lot like Eric Spoelstra when the Big Three got together, how he had this emphasis on the defensive side of the ball. You covered that team, right?
Yeah. First 2 years,
Yeah. All right, so wasn't it that first year of the Big Three were the only practices or the only thing that they were focusing on was defense, right? That's what I recall, at least from filling myself in on the coverage. I obviously was not on the beat. I was in college. But yeah, that's like it's that kind of a challenge. Like Spoelstra's got to tell all these superstars that have come together, all right, we are just focused on defense because I already know what you guys can do on offense once you have the ball in your hands. So that's a lot like the challenge that Mike McDaniel had in trying to get Tyreek Hill to run block. So it wasn't the ideal mesh. And then now there's a lot of options for how you could bring in the wide receiver if you continue on with Mike McDaniel's offense, a wide receiver that does do those things and can help you in that facet along with some pass catching.
Want to say what's up to Thundercat 2011. What's up to McRack 10. Just lost my place on here because I saw some other people that I hadn't said what's up to. Who else was? Carl Beckert was on here. I noticed he slid in. One of our regulars. Who else was in here that I wanted? Okay, I'll get to him later. You know what time it is now, right? It is time for one of the top 4 segments on this 4-segment show. It is time for the Furones bonus.
Oh, the Furones bonus.
I love it, baby. I love it. All right, we are talking team MVP here, and you would think that this is a quick conversation, but we're going to branch it off a little bit. But among the top candidates, you're going to have Devon Achane, Jordan Brooks, Aaron Brewer, Bradley Chubb, Patrick Paul, Zach Sealer, Minkah Fitzpatrick. I don't think you could throw Riley Patterson in there. He did a good job stepping in. But who are you thinking? Which the man made a tackle last week and was fired up about it too.
Yeah. Actually, he didn't get him to the ground, though.
No, he didn't, but he knocked him out of bounds. It
was impressive. Sheet, right? Got the guys fired up on the sideline.
Drive, but in the scorebook. So, Furones, where are you going with your MVP vote and why?
Devon Achane. Oh, okay, and I got to say NY, too.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, Devon Achane is obviously the home run. We can have a quicker conversation about this topic as Achane is on the field, for sure. But, I mean, this guy is the Miami Dolphins offense in 2025. He's having a historic season in terms of the franchise, putting himself at number 2 in scrimmage yards in franchise history in a single season. And this is now at the 16-game mark. So number 3 in rushing all time. He's needs 23 yards to get to number 2, passing Ricky Williams' 2003 season. I don't think he's going to notch the 500 or so rushing yards he needs to catch Ricky Williams at number 1. That would be a record in game for Devon Achane against the Patriots if he were to catch Williams' season rushing record for the franchise. So he ends up at number 2 in both categories. rushing yards in the season and scrimmage yards in the season. So a historic year for Devon Achane. The things he can do, just running the football, and then also how versatile he is catching the ball out of the backfield, and then he can line up in different spots, and how many different things Mike McDaniel can do in this offense with him, and how he can conserve himself, because it's hard to get a clean shot at him with how elusive he is and how fast he is. So, it's obviously got to be Devon Achane.
Okay, so here's the bigger question with Achane. I think everybody's going to agree on the MVP.
The double bonus.
That's it. The double Furones bonus. I'm trying to find who on here said Chase 1989Z. Achane, pay that dude. I agree 100% with Chase. And, perhaps, the model might be James Cook's contract in Buffalo, right? 4 years, $48 million with $30 million guaranteed. To me, I'm fully aware that Achane remains a 191-pound back. Ideally, I try to do something that Detroit has done, go with Gibbs and Montgomery, right? Get another running back in here, but whatever. I would probably make Achane's contract more of a 2-year deal, because he is a 191-pound running back. What do you think? Does that James Cook, 4 years, $48 million, $30 million guaranteed, is that a good model? Would you go fewer years? What are you thinking for Achane?
Yeah, well, if you look at by average annual salary, so I don't want to go up to the heights of what Saquon gets, 20.6 per year, and Christian McCaffrey's is 19. The next is Derrick Henry at 15. So you got a Jonathan Taylor at 14. Now remember, these go up as the years go. You mentioned James Cook recently getting his. So I think they had him at 11.5 per year. Yeah. So that would be nice, but you understand, as salary cap situations rise, then you're probably giving a little bit more than that. So you're going over 12, where you're creeping into the 14, 15 range most likely. But at the end of the day, you can get that to be a 6 point something percent of the cap, because McCaffrey's and Saquon's, those are above 7%, and those are the only two that are running backs in the NFL making more than 7% of the salary cap. So in the grand scheme of things, for a player like Devon Achane, at a position that is undervalued like running back, and considering how he also it's not just how he runs the football at the running back position, it's that he is a pass catcher as well. For a team that, if Tyreek Hill's not around, it is void of a lot of, Jalen Waddle, you gave him his contract, but beyond that, you don't have the big time pass catchers. You brought in Darren Waller out of retirement, but there's ebbs and flows as far as how much you can get him the ball. That's why you're counting on Greg Dulcich catching the ball at tight end, and Malik Washington and Cedric Wilson, and now Theo Weiss are playing so much at wide receiver. So what he brings as far as a pass catcher, how many touches he has, both rushing and receiving, and a stat for the Dolphins this season, 6-0 when Devon Achane has more than 20 touches in a game. And 1-9 is what it would be, right? 1-9. There's 7-9 total. So 1-9 when he has 20 or fewer touches. The one win was against the Jets when he left early with was it a rib that game or whatever injury he had in that Jets game? Oh yeah, rib, because he landed on the ball.
That's right. The flak jacket.
Yeah, right. And he had 8 touches for 105 yards already at the point of that injury, as the Dolphins were well on their way. So that just shows you how meaningful he is to team success in the grand scheme.
Let me float something that Pete's Takes has put on the chat here. Welcome to Pete's Takes. Pete's Takes says Achane and Waddle should be traded this offseason. It's what's best for our team. I've wondered, do you do the other thing? Little cafecito, I like that.
I knew you were coming on. I knew I
I can't let that go.
It was too distracting for you. Now I'm fired up.
Right.
Cafecito.
Exactly. I've wondered if do you kind of go for it with this offense and with this team because you can take advantage of Achan and Waddle in their prime, right? And now let's not go into the crazy Lamar Jackson conversation, but if I could get Lamar Jackson with Achan and Waddle, I'm doing it. But Achan and right, right. But Achan and Waddle, I mean, do you really want to rebuild for 2 years while you've got them in their well, say 1 year? Do you even want to waste 1 year of prime Achan and Waddle? What are your thoughts along those lines?
Yeah, I mean, now, honestly, I wouldn't be mad if the Dolphins chose to go that route because if you are slashing Tua's deal and you're taking on a $99 million dead cap hit, then that's a good formula to tank for a season is when you just take on that pill in one fell swoop and you have $99 million going to no one on your current roster, then that's a good way to just end up with a high draft pick the next season.
Yep.
If you also, right, yeah, if you also then go ahead and accumulate draft picks and draft capital for some of the talent that's there in a Jalen Waddle or Devon Achan, we don't know who's going to be making the decisions yet. So whoever does come in, if it's Champ Kelly, if it's whoever outside GM is choice. They're not tied to, they didn't draft Devon Achan the way Chris Grier did. They didn't give Jalen Waddle his contract extension the way Chris Grier did. So it's very possible that this person, who we have no idea who it will be and how they will perceive the situation and how they will want to operate, but I could totally see that person, who we don't know, deciding, all right, we're going to cut the Tua deal and we're going to take on all the dead cap hit. And at the same time, we're going to stockpile draft picks in a year where it's going to be pretty challenging to win. So that's why Jalen Waddle and Devon Achan were the subjects of a lot of phone calls across the league at the trade deadline last year. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I wouldn't be mad at it if they chose that route. I'm partial to those players just from covering them. And, I'd like to see them continue in Miami. But, we don't know who the GM will be to decide that. And if it's going to be Mike McDaniel and his system, then, you do want those players who have been here and you made those decisions on. But if it's someone else, then they might want to run a different type of offense. And they won't need the players from the previous regime. So I could understand stockpiling draft picks. Or if it's let's see how it works to start the 2026 season. Yeah. And then trade deadline next year, let's revisit, because it was very close to happening this past trade deadline.
To put a bow on this extended Furones bonus, there's more bonus here. And the chat is kind of, is kind of active on this Waddle Achan thing. I will ask you this, Furones. If Mike McDaniel comes back, and he comes back to an offense with no Tua, no Tyreek, no Achan, no Waddle, very little speed, do you trust Mike McDaniel? Like we've seen the shift this year, but he did have Achan and Waddle this year. Do you trust that Mike McDaniel could put together a playoff winning offense in, let's just say, 2 years? 3 years is a long time. In 2 years, 2 or 3 years, do you trust Mike McDaniel could do that?
If you go that route with the roster and you're keeping Mike McDaniel, then I think you would be showing a commitment to him through a rebuild. I don't think you just keep him around to just go ahead and coach up the young players that someone else will then utilize when they're in their prime. So then I think you would be giving him the keys along with the GM to a rebuild if you're going that route. But if an outside GM says, hey, I want to bring in, my own guy, and I'm going to just get rid of what was previously here, and I'm going to stockpile draft picks and draft capital, then that would be another scenario entirely, and it would be a fresh start all around. But if you're going the route of a new franchise decision maker comes in at GM, but you're committed to keeping Mike McDaniel, then I think you're letting him go through the rebuild, which I've said before, I like Mike McDaniel more taking on a team from the start of a rebuild. I think that would have been a better first-year coach, first stint as a coach scenario for him than the win now that the Dolphins had in 22 and 23, where he's managing personalities like the Tyreek Hill and the Jalen Ramsey for a team that has win now expectations. I think he was always better suited for take it from the ground up approach, have some draft classes to build up, considering the teacher that he is, and how much he cares for his players and would take youth and bring them up. I think he would be better in that situation than the situation that he went into, taking on a team that was ready to compete for a Super Bowl for a couple of years.
You know what? That's a very, very good point by you, because I think what came with win now was attitudes like Tyreek and Jalen Ramsey, right? And those were very hard to manage. But with Mike's style, how he likes to befriend players, and like Tyreek and Jalen, yeah, they're not down with that. They're like, I'm trying to win and build my Hall of Fame credentials. I think for the most part, a lot of these other guys are teach me your style. I'm a piece of clay, kind of mold me. You're exactly right. That's a very good point by you. Mike would be better in this situation than he was in 2022. So, that's a very good point by you.
So when we're hearing Stephen Ross likes and believes in McDaniel, that might be what they're getting at there.
Could be.
If I'm reading between the teams or whatever that phrase is.
Right. Between the lines.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're right. Two different phrases, but
but whatever. We understood. All right, let's put a bow on this with our segment. Dolphins at New England Patriots on Sunday, 4:25, Gillette Stadium. Who you got, Furones?
I got Dolphins 17, Patriots. All right, they're probably going to have more than 17, so all in the suspense. Patriots 27. 27-17, Patriots. No upset. Okay. Dolphins maybe have some competitive moments, but ultimately it's tough with the Patriots vying for a number one seed. Now, it seems like the word is that the Chargers are benching Justin Herbert in that game against the Broncos, which has implications on the Patriots for the number one seed. So, boy, the Broncos every week 18, huh? They just end up with playing a team that's going to rest their starters. They always just benefit from too much handshake agreement in the AFC West. Those teams, they don't hate each other enough to go ruin each other's seasons. Like the Dolphins are trying to play spoiler with the Patriots and make them play another game in the wild card round instead of getting a first round bye. So, but ultimately, I think the Patriots defense, Mike Vrabel has always had a coaching head-to-head advantage against Mike McDaniel, much more with this roster and how they quickly turn things around. Drake May, I just saw while we were on, I have a TV behind my phone on which we are recording this and streaming it. Yep. I saw some MVP odds on my TV screen that showed Drake May as a favorite now to win MVP. I think it might have been Matthew Stafford before, and maybe last night's game he took a hit with that. But just stunning the turnaround that has come in New England under Drake May and with Mike Vrabel at the helm.
I agree. It's a stunning turnaround because I didn't expect it. I know a lot of national guys were saying they would be a big turnaround. I didn't expect this. I'm going Patriots 24-17. And, when I was talking to you about college defenses, I think the same thing applies in the NFL. If you look at some of these top teams, Houston, New England, the Chargers, they play really good defense. And that really helps you. Jacksonville plays good defense. Denver plays good defense. So I think we're seeing at least a 1 year period. I would say even last year you saw good defense. Philly plays good defense. Kansas City is in the top 10 this year. Philly and Kansas City, just like they were last year. I think that's one of the things that really helps the Patriots. And Drake May has done a great job. Mike Vrabel has done a great job. But that defense really, really helps them. It's a good defense. I heard Ben Volen, who was down here, one of our former Dolphins writers, now up at the Boston Globe, their national NFL writer for years. He was talking about how easy the Patriots' schedule has been, and I think they might have only played three playoff teams.
Yeah,
yes,
they had the easiest
yes.
schedule. Yeah, having to play the Jets twice, and you were
right.
They were last in the division last year, right? So then that's three games where they play a last place team, in relation. So yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not sure about the Patriots' Super Bowl aspirations, but I know that they should be good enough to beat the Dolphins. And look, with the Dolphins, you also have some injury questions, right? Is Jordan Brooks going to play? Is Aaron Brewer going to play? Is Minkah Fitzpatrick going to play? I don't know what the situation is with Jalen Waddle and his ribs. Is he going to play? So, this isn't just a Dolphins-Patriots game. The Dolphins, they might rest some guys, or some guys might decide it's the finale. I don't have any contract incentives that I'm going to hit. Jordan Brooks is the guy with the tackles who, I wouldn't blame him to want that. That's a nice feather to have in your cap. So if he pushes himself, I could see it. But yeah, if Aaron Brewer and Minkah Fitzpatrick and Jalen Waddle choose not to play, I wouldn't be mad at them. So I think that's also a small factor here. By the way, you alluded to Darren Waller earlier. The Dolphins, they won last week with very little contribution from Waddle or Waller. What do you think happens with Waller on Sunday and beyond? Because I think he might be low profile again on Sunday. We see Ewers going to the guys that he probably hit on the scout team, right? Dulcich and Theo Weiss. And he didn't seem to really look Waller's way a whole lot. I think Waller is low profile on Sunday, and that's probably the last time we see him in a Dolphins uniform, considering Waller is 33, right, and has battled injury problems all year.
Yeah, I mean, remember, he came out of retirement, so we'll have to hear from him as far as his thoughts on making it through this season. Maybe dealt with a couple of things throughout the year, but still, played at a high level when he was out there. I mean, boy, that fourth quarter Monday night against the Steelers. He looked like that unstoppable player that we knew him to be with the Raiders back, 5-6 years ago. So, I mean, you saw it in 2 Monday night games, the one against the Jets too. I mean, he's a big target. It's young quarterback friendly to just know, hey, you can just throw it up to him and good things can happen. But we did see his first start, Quinn Ewers' first start, I think it was a third and long. He was getting pressured and threw it up to him and it worked, getting it to him. Yeah, if I recall correctly. So there was that play. But we haven't seen him look his way. I think we see Quinn Ewers. Yeah, he does lean a little bit on the guys he already has chemistry with. He looks their way. Greg Dulcich, Theo Weiss. But that'll be the next step for Quinn, is just truly. Now, some of it comes from just the true progression of things, and probably the defenses aren't as focused on Dulcich and Weiss, and then those are the guys that come over, like Weiss did on that long touchdown. So probably both things factor into this.
Want to say what's up to Utah Fins fan. Fitzgrass says Patriots 30, Fish 13. Let's see here. Peter McDowell says this game means something to the Patriots. It's going to be 35-14 for the Patriots. JD the Great One, 30-27 Patriots. Dead Streak, Pats 27-21. Bigote 1775 says 31-24 New England. Let's see here. Pete's takes, Dolphins 28, Patriots 17. Ewers lights it up. It's coming. Wow. Louis M 727 says Chubb wants his incentives. Fins 21-10 over the Patriots.
You know what I want to see?
1775.
I want to see like a Wildcat type game in New England. I want to see Mike McDaniel pull out all the stops. Just empty out the playbook on Mike Vrabel. Just make it the most frustrating game to defend, where they're just going to pull out all the stops, and it's just going to be like trick play every other play, and
that would be great, wouldn't it?
Extra double and triple eye candy going everywhere that the Patriots have no idea what the Dolphins are doing, and then the ball just ends up in the end zone suddenly. just empty it out.
That would be great.
Leave it all out there.
That would be great. Yeah, that would be great. I would love to see something. I would love to see some wide open stuff like that. Wouldn't that? Well, Mike's coaching for his job, but maybe somebody on here said that they believe Mike's have gotten an assurance that he's going to come back. Or was it Douglas Anderson on here said it was 2 words that he used in the post game? I can't get back up. Let's see. It was all in the cap, so I shouldn't have a hard time finding it. But let me ask you this though, Furones. Yeah. Well, let's okay. I'll look for it. In the meantime, what was I going to ask you? Oh, Stephon Diggs. You brought this up to me before the show about Stephon Diggs. Do you think that that's going to be a factor in the outcome of the game in any way, shape, or form? Stephon Diggs seems to be in a little bit of legal problems. Here's what Douglas Anderson said. Mike McDaniel confirmed that he's been told that he's coming back. In his post-game interview, he used 2 telling words when talking about the quarterback room: will and off-season, meaning he'll be here in 2026. So I think that's just the way Mike speaks. But yeah, Douglas Anderson might have a point. So what do you think about Mike McDaniel's confirmation? And do you think Stephon Diggs' issue will have any impact on the outcome of Sunday's game?
Yeah, as far as an impact on Sunday's game, it depends on his availability. So I don't know what implications these so strangulation and assault charges have on his availability for Sunday. I know the Patriots released a statement, and it was kind of that they're aware of it, and no further comment, or at least that was NFL, no further comment at this time. I'm trying to see if I can pull back up the Patriots statements. They did say they support Stephon and continue to gather information that they categorically deny the allegations. We'll see. I mean, if he's playing, I think he's going to be himself, and maybe even with some extra motivation if he feels wronged in this legal situation and just takes it all out on the field. So as far as the game day impact, and that's kind of what I see.
C. Dola says Patriots mad, overrated. We're kicking their ass. Jordan Murray says Miami shocks the world 31, New England 20. And then do you think that did Mike McDaniel confirm his return? Was Douglas Anderson right? Did he pick up on something? I think Mike just always kind of says will and all of that, but was that a tell? Did he tip off that he's been assured of coming back?
Yeah, maybe. And although he would not want to admit it, and Quinn Ewers, that decision is for the team's best interest, best chance to win, as he has repeatedly said, and kind of proven true with the last game. Dolphins get the win against the Buccaneers when a lot of us were picking them to lose after that Bengals game. They're right. But maybe behind closed doors, and then there was some kind of assurance and wanting to see what the future could be if they move on from Tua, give Quinn Ewers a shot, so there could be some kind of a level to also helping his own cause. Is hey, we changed the quarterbacks, and look, this guy as a 7th round rookie went out there and put a winning performance together, and he's looked okay through a couple of starts.
Yep. All right. So Mike McDaniel continues building his case to return. Perhaps at this time next week, we will know his fate. That's going to wrap it up for this edition of Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk. Check in with us next week. Thanks for tuning in.